Awkward wait.
Yeah, take a sip of coffee. That's what I need is just like more caffeine in my life at all times. All right. And we're waiting.
Yay. The awkward wait. You're right. It is awkward.
It is. All right. And we are live. Great.
All right.
So, welcome back, everyone, to the 12 Days of DFIRmas. We are on day 10. So, we made it this far.
You're almost there. Home stretch.
Almost there. So, I'm Amy Bowles. I'm the CEO and co founder of ArcPoint Forensics. And with me today, I have Heather. Heather, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got into digital forensics?
Sure. So my name is Heather Charpentier, and I am a civilian computer forensic analyst at the New York State Police Computer Forensic Lab. Um, I didn't start my career in this field. I started out not knowing what I wanted to do, so I took a part-time typist job at a probation department, um, and then decided I could be a probation officer. So I went to school, got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and took the job as a probation officer. I had the caseload that was the sex offenders in that county. So for that caseload, it's kind of important to know about computers and mobile devices and how to triage them. So I ended up taking a class at the New York State Police geared towards previewing digital forensics, and that piqued my interest in the field. And I went back to school, got a master's degree in cybersecurity, computer forensics, and ended up working at the New York State Police, where I have been for almost 9 years.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, a
And
little bit.
yeah, so we're actually from the same alum. So I actually went to Utica College. So it's exciting that
Nice.
they had a really good program. I did their undergrad program there in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So
I did
yeah.
their online masters. Wish I could have been at the school for it, but I did their online.
Well, yeah, but it's nice to be at home, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I had to do the whole full-time job thing while I went to school, so I had to do the online.
So we already have a comment. Jessica said, "Such a fun sweater." I need to see this
Thanks.
sweater. This sweater is over the top. I love it.
So it's a tree, and on the bottom I have the real thick and sprucey. So yeah, fun and
Best
over the
one.
top, I guess. It's what I could
Best one,
find.
yeah.
So
You know what? The saying on the bottom takes the spotlight because Aaron Sparling's was all lit up and it was a unicorn, but I don't know. This is what he's saying. I think it's like at the top at this point.
this was supposed to light up, and I got it home. Of course, I waited till the last minute and got it yesterday, and it doesn't light up. So
Well,
maybe it could have
well.
been the top if it lit up.
Oh, it's at the top for me. I like what he's
Okay.
saying, so it's fine. So,
Thanks.
all right. So just jumping right into it. So, what are some common misconceptions about digital forensics that you encounter?
Um, I think the biggest misconception about digital forensics that I encounter kind of on a daily basis is that we just push the button and magically all of the data from the person's phone or device is ready and available to present in court or present in whatever field you're working.
That's not
Um,
how it works.
no,
It's
not
not.
at all. I think it's a common misconception that you'll get everything that's ever been on the phone, including anything that's ever been deleted, and it's just not the case.
So how do you guide people when you get requests to kind of like go past that misconception? Do you have to obviously you have to educate them, but
Yeah, education I think is how you do it, right? So educating not only the investigators and the analysts, but also educating the client, whether that's the prosecutor or someone in the private sector. All parties need to be educated on like what the capabilities actually are and like the limits and they just don't always understand. So education is definitely key.
do you get a lot of pushback with when after you tell people like I can't actually get this one artifact because it's no longer there, it doesn't exist?
I wouldn't say pushback. They kind of don't understand why. Like it was there, it should be there. Why isn't it there? And I think that's when they have to reach out to secondary sources. If it's some kind of application artifact, maybe they can reach out to the service provider and find that in the cloud data that's stored on the service provider side. But I wouldn't say pushback.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good because definitely secondary perspective is good, right? And it's more of like if you have somebody that pushes back and they still don't understand, they're just adamant, right? They have to be right
Right.
that it's 100% there. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
definitely. It
yeah, I've had
must be
customers
there.
that are like that. Yeah, like I saw it with my own eyes. I know it's there, and it's like, well, sorry that
Not anymore.
I have to tell you this. It's not there anymore. Yeah.
That's true.
So, are there any specific research projects right now that you are engaged in or that you're really interested in?
So there are so many research projects that inspire me that I've been interested in. There's too many to even name, but like Alexis Brignoni's LEAP project and Kevin Pagano's Start Me page, Josh Hickman's Public Images, Jessica Hyde's Hexordia training. All of these projects inspire me and contribute so much to the digital forensics community. They've definitely inspired me to do better. And I like that they are teaching people how to do the forensics themselves, how to get away from the tools and learn how to find the artifacts and interpret them themselves.
Yeah, that's really important. Can you kind of go over what some of those projects are, like the LEAP project, just for individuals that might not know?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, if you don't know about Alexis Brignoni and the digital forensic community that contributes to it, the LEAP projects, there's A Leap for Androids, I Leap for iPhones, he has V Leap for vehicles, and it's open source tooling for parsing artifacts from phones and vehicles, and he has one for returns as well. um, Kevin Pagano's Start Me page is like the best page that's out there that incorporates everything you can think of forensics. If you're looking for resources or looking for tools or podcasts or trainings or anything at all, that Start Me page has a list of absolutely everything forensics. Josh Hickman's public images have helped me tremendously throughout my career and also when I was teaching at the local college. So he has public images that are available for testing, and I use them also in the classes for like practical experience in a college course I was teaching. And then if you haven't taken Jessica Hyde's Hexordia training classes, you have to take her classes. They are amazing. She is one of the smartest people I've met in the digital forensics field. And those trainings are just awesome. And there's so many more to mention, but those are just a few that have actually been important to me and have helped me throughout my career.
Yeah, Jessica will talk circles around me in the digital
She's
forensic space.
she's so
Yeah, and
good. She comes.
she has a class coming up. I know that you're cold because you're in New York and it's freezing. Is I'm sure it's snowing or there's snow on the ground at this point. She has a class that's in the Gulf Coast, and I was like, yeah, that was smart that she scheduled it so that way she it's like right at the end of February, and I was like,
Oh,
perfect timing.
nice,
The weather's going to be
nice.
perfect. So,
She's coming to New York in March, so I mean she lives in New York, so but she's coming up to us in March, so it'll uh it'll be nice and cold then. If you join
oh
her,
my
it'll be
gosh.
nice and
Well,
cold.
I had the pleasure to meet you in person when I was back in New York because my family's from New York around Thanksgiving, and I thought I was going to freeze to death then, and it was only November.
I love the cold weather. I just hate the snow. So we can keep the snow away. I'll take
Yeah.
the cold.
Yeah, this morning here in Florida, it was 46, and I probably should have reached out to all the Floridians I know and be like, "Are you okay? Is everyone okay? We're gonna make it. It's gonna be fine, everyone." I
It was
had to turn the
26
heat on for
here.
the first time. Nope.
I
Nope. You can keep it. Nope.
had
So,
the window open. I thought it was beautiful.
oh no. No, I couldn't handle it. I'd be like in a snowsuit inside. So, looking ahead into 2024, what do you anticipate some of the trends will be, or some of the challenges or opportunities?
So I think challenges with myself and where I work are going to be keeping up with the amount of data. So gone are the days of the 256 megabyte phone with just calls, contacts, and messages. And the amount of data and the amount of time that it takes to get through the data has really been a challenge for us in particular in the lab that I work at. Um, there's a big push to move faster and a push to automate everything. So I think that that is going to be a challenge for us to keep up with and still continue to hold the integrity of, validation and verification of all of the artifacts that are important.
What is some of the hesitation you have about automating?
Um, I I guess I have trust issues. I need to see that it's actually correct, right? So I think AI is gonna be big coming up, but it worries me because at the end of the day, I think the examiner has to be the one who validates everything to make sure it's done and done correctly. If there's not somebody validating that data, how do we know that it got it right?
Yeah, that's a good point, and, like, being able to dig deeper to find out those artifacts are true. The other
Yeah.
thing is, like Jessica had just mentioned, the last 3 guests that we've had actually have mentioned data, right? The amount of data, data processing,
Yeah.
how much time it takes. So, and it's interesting when we talk about automation too, of like the pros and cons of automation and second validation, right? Of verifying that all the information is right. So, how do we
Mhm.
find like that right balance?
Huh.
Because I
That
feel
is
like that's a big challenge too, right?
it is. That's a wonderful question. I think that having those tools to assist is definitely needed. It's necessary, and it will get you to a certain point, but still that validation of at least the major artifacts or the major evidence in your case has to be done by a person, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And being able to understand like the second validation piece, and making sure, like, I know that we talked about triage and triaging and learning how to do smart processing and smart triaging up front will actually
Right.
help dial back some of that data that's coming in, but then still be
Hmm.
able to focus in on the key artifacts.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that a
Definitely.
lot of organizations are going in that direction. They're putting a lot of primary focus. In the past, we put a lot of primary focus in the lab environment and learning like exactly what needs to be done to make that streamlined and efficient. But now we're seeing on the other side as data grows that we need to do more in the field. We need to triage stuff first before it comes back so that way we can get to it.
Yeah, I definitely think the automation is necessary, and we've actually, in the lab I work at, have been looking into some options when it comes to automation. But I mean, at the end of the day, the examiner is going to be the one who testifies to the work and has to be the one to explain the artifacts. It's not going to be the automated tool that goes and testifies.
Absolutely. Jessica just made that comment. The person testifies,
Oh, yeah,
which is
yeah. Exactly,
super.
Jessica.
Couldn't say it better ourselves.
Right.
So, well, awesome. So, tell me what motivates you or excites you the most about being in the digital forensic community.
Um, I think it is the community itself. So I love how everyone helps each other. There's always that expectation that you put the work in yourself first, but then there is a really large community of people that are there to back you up when you need help. And I love that about this field. I don't think I haven't ever seen it in any of the past jobs that I've had, as strong as it is in this field. So.
Why do you think that is?
Because everybody's awesome. I think that everybody in this field just wants to see each other succeed, right? We don't want to see anybody fail at forensics or fail at the I guess the analysis of devices, and why not? Why not help each other out?
Yeah, I feel like as a community, we're really giving, like in terms
Yeah,
of knowledge and time. So I know that I will work myself to the bone to chase an answer down or figure out a solution for a customer. But
yeah.
that's just, I think we're all like deep down people pleasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important too because like as individuals are coming into the community for the first time, graduating and stuff like that, getting your first digital forensics job is intimidating,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Nobody ever
definitely.
talks about that, how intimidating it is, or
Mm-mm.
and to have a community that can truly support you is important.
Yeah. So when I first started in forensics, I always tell people this story because I want them to feel comfortable when they first start working in our office. But we would stand around in a group and everybody would be talking digital forensics, and I'd be like this, and then I'd be running back to my desk to Google what the hell they were talking about because I had no idea. So try and tell anybody new that comes into our office that I did that when I first started, and now I understand what everybody's talking about, so they will get there as well.
Yeah, so my first job out of college, someone was like, I guess, assumed that I knew how to pull an image across the network. And I had never done that, right? Because in my classes, what they were focused on is dead box forensics. So here's a hard
Right.
drive, here's a forensic machine, you do your thing. So that was my workflow and that was my experience. So I just sat there and I was so nervous to ask any questions. And I was like, sure, absolutely. What would have taken me probably an hour to perform, it took me 2 days because I want to make sure it was right. I researched it thoroughly. I didn't want to ask any questions. And I didn't know about the digital forensic community right at that point in my job. I didn't know
Right.
that I could go out and ask questions. I was terrified to ask questions. I didn't want people to think that, I had, like faked it until I got this job because that's another thing too. It's like having, like some type of mental block of like, I need to make sure that I am professional and that I'm conveying this information, or else people aren't going to trust me that I'm able to do this job
Right.
effectively. So it was terrifying for me.
Yeah, 100% felt the same way. They still pick on me today from like my first week working in the lab. It was 9 years, almost 9 years ago now, and I was tasked to do the right blocker validations. Except I knew what a right blocker was, but I had never touched one before. I had no idea how to hook it up or figure that. I mean, I figured it out, but it took me a long time to figure it out. So I definitely understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I also remember, thank God Jessica Hyde was in my lab when I worked there because I remember someone brought me this phone that was I had never even heard of the brand before, and they're like, "Oh, you need to like this is evidence, blah blah blah." Went through the case details, and I'm like, "Okay, great." I stared at that phone on my desk, and I was like, "I don't even know how to turn this on." It's like, I don't know what to do. And I went over. I was like in a separate room, and I walked down the hallway, and I grabbed Jessica, and I said, can I talk to you in private?" And she's so nice about it. She's like, absolutely. Walked in there, I was like, I'm so embarrassed. I didn't want to ask this in front of the entire Celtics team, but like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? So she also did not ever touch a phone like that either. So that made me feel good. I was like, oh, Jessica
Yeah,
doesn't know then. That's fine.
definitely.
But no,
So
she like worked through the process with me and we got it.
nice.
But that's the type of support that this community provides.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. My very first case was a skimmer, and my boss handed it to me and said, "Oh, we don't know what to do. Let's figure it out." Like, what? And I had no idea what it even was. So I hear you on the didn't know what it was.
You
Figured
just
it out
stare at it for a
though.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I lucked out. There was an SD card in that skimmer that had a video of the guy setting it up. So I'm like, oh, here it is.
Oh, we talked about that in one of the very beginning episodes, right? Heather was saying that if, the in the situation that she had where if the guy didn't plug his phone into the rental car,
Mhm.
then they might not have the data that they needed
Right.
for the case.
Right.
So it's actually great that people are making mistakes. So
Yeah. Oh,
makes our jobs a little bit
definitely.
easier. So
Definitely.
yeah. So for people who are just entering in, what resource do you think that they should target first?
Oh my goodness. So just entering in some of the trainings I mentioned, I think Jessica's trainings are awesome for somebody just entering in to the digital forensic community. Um, she does the basics, but she also goes in depth. So, I mean, you can start from the basics and move to the in depth classes. I tell everybody who comes into the lab, go take her free classes now that she has on the site, and then we'll get her here and we'll give you a training with Jessica. So that's one of the places I would tell people to start. All of the resources I've talked about too. If you're not in any of the groups, so like the physical mobile group or the mobile device forensics groups, the Google groups, then I would join those. I think every single time I have some sort of question that pops up on a device, it's like the next day or the day after, somebody's talking about it on those groups. So that resource is invaluable to me for new people coming in. I wouldn't start off asking questions on there till you know what you're doing, but just reading what everybody has been contributing to that, I think is really important.
So how many people are in those groups,
Oh my
roughly?
God, I have no idea.
Like
No
thousands,
idea.
right?
There's tons of people, yeah, and some people are on there and more active than others answering questions. But even just to be able to read some of the answers to the questions at first is a great resource.
Yeah. We were using Twitter for a while, and I have noticed a shift going back to LinkedIn, which honestly makes
Yeah.
me feel a lot better. LinkedIn was so much easier for me to navigate. I felt like I missed a lot of stuff on Twitter. So I'm glad that we're back, or X, I guess is the new name
Yeah,
for
that's
it. But
right.
I
It's
forget.
Twitter.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, LinkedIn, I think, is a really good resource too.
Yeah,
I know
definitely.
that you all have a podcast. You and Alexis Bergoni have a podcast, and you stream it on YouTube. You also stream it on LinkedIn. Where else do you stream it? Like multiple different areas, right?
Yeah, so all of the like major audio podcast sites, Apple, Google, you name it, it's on the audio podcast sites as well. There's a blog on Blogger for it, and then oh, Twitch. I just saw a comment from Alexis in the bottom in the bottom. Twitch. Yes, I would have forgotten. Thank you. Um, but yeah, you can go back. You can watch it live every other Thursday with us and comment in, or watch it afterwards. So it'll be up on Alexis's YouTube page afterwards.
Okay, what are some of the things that you all cover on the podcast?
Anything in digital forensics now. So that'd be the name of the podcast is Digital Forensics Now, and just anything that's going on currently in digital forensics, whether it be new artifacts, whether it be updates to tools. We've demoed some of the capabilities of tools, Atrio being one of them, and I mean anything you can think of.
Okay, yeah, because I think that that's a good resource for people to know. So
Yeah.
if they don't know where to start, start with the podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Start with the podcast, learn about the other resources on the podcast of where to go and find new information and new
Right.
capabilities, like you said. So that's really important. Do you all like dissect into so if there's a new artifact or something that is important to the casework that you both are handling, do you go into details on the podcast or do you just reference other
Yeah, so
resources?
yeah, well, a little bit of both. So if somebody has written a blog about a new artifact, we'll reference the blog, but a lot of times we'll show it live. So some of the tool artifacts that are updated or new, some of the artifacts that are new will be incorporated into the leaps, and we'll show that live on the podcast. So listening to it audio is great. We try and do a good job on explaining what we're doing, but watching it live on YouTube as well to see some of the live demos is also another great way to watch the podcast.
That sounds like a challenge trying to describe what you're doing. I would not
Yeah.
be able to do that, especially live. I feel like I'd be like, do this, and I'd be like, oh, I actually need to explain the steps.
So it
So,
works out because I am not very good at explaining the steps while I'm showing them. But Alexis is on the other side there explaining things as I'm doing it. So he's making up for my inadequacies there.
oh, so smart. You guys make a perfect team.
he thinks of
Awesome.
that, and I'm just going on and on and on, and I'm not thinking of, oh, people might just be listening, but he makes up for that. So
Oh, good. Well,
yeah.
awesome. Well, this has been really, really insightful. Thank you so much for being our guest. And
Yeah,
we
thank
have
you.
you're welcome. And then we have another guest up tomorrow. So that'll be exciting. We are on the 11th day of DFIRmas.
Very
So
nice.
we're getting there.
Yeah, you're almost there.
We are almost there. So I appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll be live again tomorrow at 11 a.m. And I look forward to seeing everyone. Thank you so
Yeah, look
much.
forward to watching. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.